Hi, it's Melissa here at Desert Gal. This video in particular is for someone out there. And I don't know who it's for, but you're going through some things right now. And the enemy is attacking you with thoughts of, is this walk even true? Are you truly hearing from the Most High? Are you truly doing what you're supposed to be doing? You don't have a lot of people around you to bring encouragement. And you feel extremely alone and like nobody understands. And so this video is for you. I'm supposed to share this story with you. And I believe it'll help because I'm being obedient in doing this. So about a year ago, the Father placed me in a congregation, and it was very different than anything I'd really been a part of before. It was a Messianic congregation, and just because He placed me there, it doesn't mean that I consider myself Messianic. I don't at all. He's placed me in a number of places, I don't know, like 7 or 8 different places. But last February, He placed me in this congregation, and I think it was the second or third Sabbath I was there. The Father had me start giving prophetic words to the entire congregation. And this was a place that, was open to the gifts and stuff. So anyways, the words that were coming forward were very encouraging and edifying. And so anyways, let me first say this. I knew right off in my own personal prayer time, the way that Abba was having me pray for this place, that there would be a time when He would have me correct and rebuke this congregation. And to be honest, I was truly hoping that it would only be in prayer. Like that, that I wouldn't actually have to go and speak a rebuke, but that it would just be in prayer. And I was in this place for about 6 months. And about the fourth or fifth word that He had me speak, I think I was there, maybe 3 months by this time, about. He had me speak this particular word that was wanting to set people free, and it was stating that there's no condemnation in Messiah, but that there was someone that was there that was struggling with gay pornography, and the Father wanted to set them free. Well, I delivered that word as the Father wanted me to. And the very next morning I woke up I was bombarded with thoughts before I even got out of bed. Thoughts of, you're crazy, you're not hearing right, this God that you believe in, He's not even real, His word is not real, who do you think you are, what do you think you're doing? So it was like, you're hearing voices, or, you're full of yourself. Just all these thoughts started bombarding me this morning. And it made me question for a few seconds, like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm going into this congregation, and I'm giving these words, and like, am I hurting Abba's people? Like, what am I doing? Is this even real? And there was no one locally at that time in my life that I could really just turn to and ask for help or ask for confirmation or just kind of have with me to be a support. And I was just like, I really had to pray that morning and just say, nope, I know the word is true. I know scripture is true. I know that I'm hearing the voice of the Father because of all these other things that have happened. Abba has proved himself to me time and time again with this miracle, this confirmation, this provision, this word of knowledge, just with all these different things. And I had to go back and hold on to everything the Father had done in my life up until that point. And that was how I battled these thoughts. And, and then I just got into the word, I just flipped it anywhere. And I was just like, okay, this is true. This is true. And I know it's true because I've read things in it and I can see the changes in my own life. My life is a testimony of the goodness and the life-changing power of the Ruach HaKodesh. Father, I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you for all these things that have happened, for the work you've done in me, and for all the things you're going to do. And you are real. Your word is true. And I may have to stand in the face of all these people that don't believe me. And so that's how I fought that morning. And I just bound up a spirit of lies in the name of Yahushua. And I just cried out for Abba's spirit of truth. And so, thankfully it just stopped. And the peace came and the silence came. And I ended up being rebuked at this congregation, and that was okay. And as a matter of fact, because I used to go on a Wednesday night for a Q&A night, and I was rebuked in front of everybody that was there. And so I just raised my hand and I said, okay, that's fine. I can be rebuked like 10,000 times, but I still have this question. And I was asking a question about a scripture verse because they were basically rebuking me and saying that women can't give words, or, they can't be prophetesses, or really, I don't know. And I was not even claiming that, and I still don't claim that. Abba can allow us to move in his gift as he wills. So, anyways, I did get rebuked that night, and I was told that I was no longer allowed to stand up in the congregation and give any kind of word. And I said, okay. And I asked the Father on my way home, I said, what do I do with that? And he said I could trust his voice through the pastor. I said, okay. So the coming up Sabbath, I had my notebook and Abba was giving me another word. So I just started writing it down in my notebook like I was told to do by the pastor. And the next couple of days after that, the Father's voice was really silent. And I could not feel his presence. And it was about 3 days later, and I was just like, where are you? I don't feel you. Why don't I hear you? Why haven't you not been speaking to me? And he immediately gives me the scripture verse, quench not the spirit. And I was like, I'm confused because I thought you said I could trust your voice through the pastor. And he immediately said, when it doesn't contradict my word. And I said, okay. So the verse that he had given was, do not despise prophecies, quench not the spirit. And I said, okay, then what am I supposed to do? And, I don't remember what he had me do. I think he had me pray for the congregation. And then the next day, which was a Wednesday, he actually had me address the pastor with a few questions that I was supposed to give. And I really thought that night I was going to be released from this place. But Friday morning, as soon as I woke up out of bed, Yahweh started speaking to me all about this congregation. And I was like, Papa, I thought I was released. And I said, am I supposed to be writing this down? Like, is this a word that I'm supposed to give? And he reminded me that he had given me a word, which I thought was just a prayer that I had written down, like the Tuesday before, or that Tuesday, I don't remember. And I was like, okay. So I went back and I looked at what I had written down the previous days, and it was a word of correction and rebuke. And I'm like, oh dear. Okay, how do you want me to do this? What am I supposed to do? So now up until this point, the elders and the other leadership in this congregation, they were very supportive. And they would come up to me afterwards and say, yes, that was by the Ruach, that was the Father. And I even had some people come up to me and just thank me because they've been praying for change. And they've been praying for sins to be dealt with in this house. And so, and I could tell that when those appreciations came, I always redirected them back to the Father. Because we're not supposed to take any glory for ourselves at all. And I just redirected those thank yous and appreciations to the Father. And none of them were given with the wrong spirit to flatter or anything like that. And for that I was thankful. Because you have to even test the spirit of thank yous. And so anyways, I called a few of the ladies that I knew. And I just said, Abba wants me to give one last word, and then he's going to release me from this house. I need you to pray. And I had 4 ladies praying for me. And I went into fasting. And, you know, and I remember there was a day, like, I was just crying because I don't have, at the time I was thinking like, I don't have a covering, like I don't have a house. You know, like there's this mentality in the world system, in churchianity or in the religious system, that if you're going to go somewhere, you need to be sent by someone, or like a covering, a house, or another congregation or place, or have the approval of another pastor to send you out. And so I just remember praying, I'm like, Father, like, you know, I have a friend in another state and she's kind of on under the umbrella of this house, and they send her to other churches and congregations to speak. And so, but she's under like this main pastoral covering. And I was just like, Papa, I don't have a place like that that's sending me out. I don't have a place that, you know, like if you send me someplace, then this pastor can't like call back to the other house or covering and say, hey, you know, there's this woman that says she's under your umbrella or whatever. Can you vouch for her? And so I was just like, you know, and I was of course getting attacked with thoughts of like, oh, you're a lone ranger, you don't submit to anyone, like all this kind of stuff. And my heart was so contrary, because my heart is just to serve the Father and do whatever he wanted me to do. And so I was just crying out to him this one day, and I was like, Papa, like, I don't have a covering. I don't have a place that's sending me out, and I don't know what to do because there's no one to vouch for me. And he said, my son is your covering. My son is your head. You are in the body of Messiah. He's your covering. And I said, okay. And I was very excited about that because, like, Messiah is the best covering you can have. I didn't need an earthly man or pastor or leader or someone to send me out, because Father was sending me out, and Messiah was my head. So that following Sabbath, I got dressed. A friend recommended that I wear a dress, and I don't really do dresses. That might ruffle some of your feathers out there, but I just don't. I don't know why. Abba's never convicted me to do it, so be it. And so she told me I should wear a dress, so I went and I bought a white dress and a white hat. And the Father had me write down the word on a piece of paper and put it in my scriptures. And at first I thought, isn't that kind of like deceitful to put it in there? And because he was giving me a strategy, and I said, but Father, isn't that deceitful? Like I don't want to be deceitful. And he said, I have had to send my people in undercover. I have had to send my people in ways to penetrate the enemy's camp. And this is a strategy I'm giving you because this word needs to be delivered. I said, okay. And I was going to ask a dear friend if she could be my rear guard. And I pictured myself sitting in the second row with lots of people to my right and lots of people to my left. And I knew who those people would be. I knew they'd be a good support. So I saw myself sitting in the second row. And yeah. So on that coming Sabbath, I go to the congregation and I approach my friend and I ask her, I said, would you mind sitting behind me? And she said, yep, the Father already told me. I'm your rear guard. And that was amazing. I was very thankful for that. And even though these ladies were praying for me, these 4 women in this congregation that I could reach out to, I still didn't have anyone around me that had been through this. And, but sometimes he will use you to be the first one to do things in like the people that you know, or, you might just be the one that's different, and that's okay. It's okay for you to be different as long as you're walking in obedience. So just know that you don't have to tone down. You don't have to minimize the gifting that Abba's given you. You don't have to try to blend in or fit in. You just have to be who he has called you to be. Okay? So I end up going to the restroom to just breathe and pray. And this lady walks in that I had not told what I was going to do. I had not told her. And here she is wanting to talk to me. And she says, Melissa, what you're going to do is wrong. It's rebellion, and witchcraft is rebellion, and da-da-da-da-da. And I come out of the stall, and I just listen to her, and I nod, because I'm listening by the Spirit. I'm not listening by the natural. I know by the natural what she's doing. But I'm listening to the Spirit because I had already quenched the Spirit. And I could hear by the Spirit that this was the Father testing me again. And so I just thanked her and I hugged her. And I said, and I walk out and I just look up and I'm like, Father, I won't rebel against you again. I'll obey. So I go up to the second row. The music starts. And normally they sing like 4 or 5 songs. At the end of the 3rd song, the Father said, now. And I'm like, now? I wasn't expecting that. So I grab my scriptures and I turn to it and I just start proclaiming the word that he gave me. And nobody showed up in the second row on either side of me, or in the front row, nor in the back row. I was all there by myself. And I was like, Abba, I just trust that you are going to guard me and protect me. And if this word is not from you, if I have missed it, then please shut my mouth. Have someone come and take me out. Have them drown out the word with music. But Father, if this word is truly from you, then may it go forth without any disruption. Because I too needed to know that I knew that I was walking in obedience and I was not harming his people. And I was not operating in a wrong spirit. And so the whole word went forth, and it was the longest word he'd ever had me give. And it was just complete silence. And praise Abba for that, because that was absolutely amazing. No one came to drag me out. No one turned up the music. No one said anything. And as a matter of fact, at the very end of service, this the pastor actually called me up and he said, was that a scripture or was that like a prophetic word? And I said, both. And I just looked at him and I said, both. And he said, you disobeyed me. And I said, I obeyed him. And then he just walked off the stage in utter disappointment. And I could not take on guilt or shame because of that. I knew I had done well. So just know that when Abba asks you to do something, it's not maybe going to make a lot of people around you happy, and you're not going to receive thank yous. You're not going to receive a pat on the back. You're not going to receive understanding even. But you receive the comfort and the affirmation from Abba. And that's all that matters, is pleasing him and not pleasing man. That's what this walk is about. And sometimes it's a very, very lonely walk. And there's no one around you to lift you up and to carry you and to just be there for you. And sometimes you are going to be attacked with thoughts that you're crazy. And you've got to fight those thoughts with everything that the Father has done in your life. That you know, that you know, that you know. You saw his hand, 10 years ago. You saw his hand 5 years ago. You saw his hand just yesterday. And you see the work of his hands in you and how he's changed you. So you hold on to that and you don't let that go. And that is how he is building and building and building and increasing your faith to walk in the things that he is going to even, continue to call you to do. I mean, look through, go back and read the Gospels and see how Messiah had to spit and mix mud. Is Abba going to have us do that? Like, pick up dirt and mix mud and put it on someone's eyes and pray for them? Is he, like, you've got to listen. You've got to know his voice. And you've got to act instantaneously. I kind of have this thing that I have a feeling one day the Father is going to have me speak out loud to an entire store or a restaurant even, and just stand up and say, okay, is there someone here that's dealing with this? And then pray for them. I don't know. But I could see that coming and I could see that happening. And so don't allow people to try to stifle your gift. And don't allow them to talk down to you because of how old you might be. Lots of people think I'm younger than I am. And I get that a lot, like, oh, you're young, or you're inexperienced, or blah, 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 blah. And so I go back to Job where the young man says, I'm younger than you, but forget all you elders. I know that the Father can use a child. And I'm obviously not a child. But what's beautiful about that is he uses those who are childlike, who have that childlike faith. So don't be ashamed of that. Stand strong in whatever he is asking you to do. And I've shared this before, that sometimes it feels like in this walk that we're navigating two different worlds. We have to contend with the natural world, and then behind the scenes, everything we see and we hear in the Spirit, and, being in the Father's presence and in his word, it can sometimes feel so surreal that it gets complicated. But just know. It's like being a backstage hand. You know what's going on stage in the real world and what's going on behind the scenes. So just know that's what you're doing.